Well, one of the most stunning pieces of evidence is an inscription that seems to reference nomads of Yahweh, the God of Israel, in Egyptian records. Tell us about this inscription. Where was it found and what does it say?
This inscription was found at a place called Soleb. So this was an Egyptian temple that was constructed by or orders on Amenhotep III. So he's the grandson of Amenhotep II. And his reign starts probably around 1415 BC. So he most likely commissioned this temple somewhere around 1400 BC. And on this temple, he puts all these different inscriptions. Among those or these lists of places and people that he had supposedly subjugated. So this is very, very typical practice for Egyptian pharaohs, especially of this period. And it doesn't mean that they actually conquered all those places or people, but oftentimes they are just making claims or copying things. But one section has these different groups of nomads, and these nomads are distinguished by a name. The name seems to be, in every case, a deity. Like we have one group that seems to worship Anath, the goddess Anath or Anat. Another one that worships Baal. And then there's one that's the Nomads of Yahweh. So this is very interesting because it's the earliest inscription that's ever been found with the name Yahweh on it. So it's written in Egyptian hieroglyphs, and yet it is very obviously the name Yahweh transcribed with hieroglyphs. And this is, I wouldn't say it's a consensus of scholars who take that view, but a whole lot do, of various worldviews and religious beliefs and ideologies. The ones who don't, they don't really say necessarily that it's not the word or the name Yahweh, but they might try to assign it to be like a place name or something. But why do we associate this with the Israelites? And why would we say, yeah, this is actually the name Yahweh? Well, first, like I said, these other nomad groups, they're connected to the name of a deity. So it would follow that this is also the name of a deity. So we've got Yahweh right there. Why is it the Israelites? Well, if we look into ancient history, the Israelites were the only people in ancient times that worship Yahweh. No other people did that. And if we look at every single inscription with the name Yahweh, they're either all Israelite inscriptions or it's a foreign nation talking about the Israelites, talking about the God of the Israelites, like the Mesha stele, for example, of Moabite stone. It has the name Yahweh on it, but it's in the context of that's the Israelites' God. So there's no evidence to suggest this could be anyone else. So that's the Israelites. All right. Now it's 1400 BC approximately, and they're nomads. And the geographic context of these inscriptions places them east of Egypt in the area of Edom, Moab, Transjordan. So it's them at the end of the wandering period is really our only solid evidence for the wandering period of the Israelites, because they're living in tents, they're not building stuff and leaving behind pottery. So that's incredibly important in terms of establishing the historical wandering period. Also, it's important in showing the appearance of the divine name because that's only revealed to Moses in Exodus 3. And this is only 40 something years after that. And then it pops up in Egypt. Well, how did they know? Well, Moses went back to Egypt. He talked to the Pharaoh. He used the name Yahweh. Pharaoh even uses the name Yahweh. And so they knew. And so it tells us there was interaction between the Israelites knowing the name Yahweh and the Egyptians. So there's a whole number of things that make this inscription very important. And actually, I should say inscription because there were two of them found at this particular temple. And then there's a third one where there was a copy of it from another nearby temple about 150 years later or so.
Yeah, very fascinating. Lots of details, connecting points, right? As far as the Exodus date, the wanderings, the Yahweh, nomads, all of that. Very powerful, added to the cumulative argument that the Exodus occurred in 1446 and the Hebrews were in Egypt and wandered for 40 years.